My girlfriend Sarah Miller and I, along with our friends Jake Torres and Mia Chen, took a hike. Marquette's got that uncharted, middle-of-nowhere-esque vibe, perfect for getting lost in the great outdoors. We were all in our mid-20s, restless, looking for a break from our dead-end jobs. Jake's a mechanic, always tinkering. Mia's a nurse, tough as nails. Sarah's a graphic designer, always sketching. Me? I'm just a warehouse guy, good with a map and a bad sense of humor. We packed some gear, tents, snacks, some beers, and headed into the woods, tracing a trail we'd read about on an old hiking bulletin board. The plan was simple: hike, camp, maybe swap some horror stories. Nothing crazy. The trail was rugged, brushy, like no one had been there in years. We pushed through for a couple of hours, making light, taking selfies with the evergreen trees. Somewhere near dusk we found it, a cabin sitting in the middle of a clearing like it had been dropped there. It was ancient, wood weathered to gray, but somehow assembled. The windows were black, but there was a light on inside, like a lantern left burning. "Who the damn hell lives out here?" Jake growled, rubbing his hair. Mia frowned, looking at her phone. No signal. Typical. I pushed open the door, half expecting it to be locked. It creaked, revealing a scene that stopped us cold. The cabin was fully furnished. Wooden table, chairs, a dusty rug. On the table sat a spread, plates of food still steaming, like someone had just walked away. Mashed potatoes, green beans, a roast, even a pitcher of water. The scent hit me, meaty, warm, but off, like it had been sitting too long. "This is freaky as heck," Sarah whispered, holding onto my arm. She glanced around wildly as if expecting someone to jump out. "Come on, guys," Mia said, but Jake was already digging through. He flung open a cabinet, looking at cans of food, all corroded but still lined up in orderly rows. "Must have whoever was here left in a hurry," he stated. I noticed a photo on the mantle, a family, or maybe from the 70s, smiling politely. The frame was cracked, the glass smudged. My stomach roiled. Something wasn't right about this house. We argued about leaving, but it was dark and we were way out of sight from the trailhead. "Let's just spend the night," I tried to sound firm. "It's just some cabin, probably some hunter's cabin." Sarah didn't sound like she believed me, but she nodded. We rolled out our sleeping bags on the floor, giving the table a wide berth. No one went near the food. It smelled too strange. And who would eat someone else's dinner anyway? We cracked open a few beers, tried to blow it off, but the air was charged like the cabin was holding its breath. I got little sleep that night. The forest was too quiet. No crickets, no wind, only this damp, oppressive hush. It was 2 a.m. when Sarah shook me awake. "Lucas, do you hear that?" she whispered. I cocked my head. Far away, but audible. A low chant, like a voice from a faraway place. I grabbed my flashlight, my pulse pounding. "Stay here," I told her, but she followed me to the window. Outside, the clearing was empty, but the trees seemed closer, as if they'd moved in closer overnight. I told myself it was my mind playing tricks, but Sarah's nails dug into my arm. "There's something wrong with this place," she said. Matters only grew more bizarre by morning. We huddled together, ready to hike out. But when we stepped outside, the trail was gone. Lost. No trail, no blazes. Just endless trees in every direction. The clearing was also smaller, as if the woods had swallowed half of it overnight. Jake swore, kicking a rock. "This is crap. We took that trail in." Mia referred to her compass, but the needle only revolved. Useless. My phone was dead, although I charged it the evening before. So was Sarah's. "What the devil is happening?" she cried, her voice cracking. We tried to decide on a path, walking for hours, but the woods were a maze. Every tree was the same, every clearing a dead end. At noon, we stood in front of the cabin once more. Not another cabin, the very same. Same ruined photo, same creepy dinner on the table. "This is not possible," Jake said, his face going white. "We walk straight." Mia didn't respond, her eyes scanning the trees. "Something's holding us back," she said, so quietly I almost missed it. That's when we found the cemetery. It was perhaps 100 yards or so from the cabin, hidden behind thick underbrush. Dozens of headstones, maybe more, half buried in moss and dirt. They were sisters, letters hardly legible. Elijah, 1892, Clara, 1887, names like those. There was one who was different, however, newer than the others. Rebecca, 1973. No last name, just a date and a crude etching of a tree. There was a chill in the air where we were, colder than it should have been, and it reeked like wet earth and something bitter, like decay. Sarah grasped my hand. "Lucas, I don't like this." "Me neither," I replied, but I could not stop staring. The graves appeared, alive as though they were watching us. Jake, trying to be tough, kicked at a headstone. "Just some old pioneer crap. Let's get out of here." But when he turned around, we heard it, a rustling, like footsteps through the leaves. We stood there, paralyzed. "Hello!" Mia shouted out, shaking. No answer, but the rustling increased, circling us. I turned, flashlight in hand, and there was nothing, just trees. Too many trees. At the cabin, we tried to make a plan. "We'll mark our trail this time," I said, tearing shreds from an old shirt we found in a closet. "We'll get out." But inside, I wasn't so sure. The woods appeared to be pushing out, as if they did not want us to leave. That night, we sat up, one at a time. At midnight, Jake elbowed me. "You see that?" he whispered, pointing toward the window. I gazed. There were forms in the darkness, vague, human-shaped, creeping among the trees. Not one, not two, but scores. My stomach dropped. "Don't wake the girl," I said, but my words were shaking. The shapes didn't come closer, just hovered, like they were waiting. By morning they were gone, but the forest was different again. The clearing was barely there now, the cabin practically touching the trees. Sarah was crying, saying she wanted to go home. Mia was pacing, muttering about how none of this made sense. Jake was angry, smashing a chair against the wall. "We're trapped, man! This place is screwing with us!" I was attempting to stay calm, but I panicked too. Next, Mia found something, a trapdoor beneath a rug, which opened up into a cellar. We didn't know what to do, but we had no option. The cellar air was damp, full of that same sour stench. The cellar was small, mud walls, and in the center, a wooden box. Jake opened it. Inside, bones, human bones, dry and yellowed, were wrapped in a yellowed-gray dress. There was a rusty knife beside them, covered with something black. Sarah gagged and stepped back. "What is this?" she panted. "There's more," said Mia, pulling out a journal. Its pages crumbling. The dates were 1973, written in Rebecca's handwriting. She had lived in the cabin with her family, loggers who had homesteaded deep in the forest. The last note was crossed out, frantic. "They're back. The ones we buried. They won't let us leave. The forest keeps them, and now it wants us too." My hands shook as I read it. "This is crazy," Jake said, but he wasn't sure. That night, the buzzing came back, louder, closer. It was not a sound. Alone it was voices, harmonized, saying names. Elijah, Clara, Rebecca. Sarah was sobbing in a ball on the floor. Mia clutched the knife from downstairs, knuckles sore. Jake stood at the entrance with the baseball bat from his backpack at the ready. "If they get in, I'm swinging," he said to me. I wanted to believe we could defend ourselves, but those things outside, they were no longer human. The door creaked around 3 a.m. Not a knock, but a scraping, slow one, like nails on wood. "Don't open it," Mia snarled. I wasn't. But then the window shook, the walls creaked, and the buzzing turned to a scream. A sound that made my head splinter and my ears ring. The figures were at the windows then, faces pressed into the glass. No mouths, no eyes, just smooth white flesh. Sarah screamed, and Jake swung his bat, shattering a window. The faces didn't flinch. They just melted away into the darkness. We ran to the cellar, slamming the trapdoor behind us. It was stupid, I know, but it was the best I could do. Down here, the air was suffocating. The reeking smell so overwhelming, I felt it on my tongue. We cowered in the dark, listening to the cabin groaning above us, as if the forest was consuming it. "We're going to die here," Sarah breathed. I held her close, trying to reassure her everything would be fine, but I didn't believe it. And then Mia found something more in the box, a hand-drawn map of the graveyard. Scrawled on it was a message: "Burn them. Free them." I looked at her. "You think this is happening? That we can stop this?" She nodded, her eyes burning. "It's all we've got." We waited until morning, when the noise stopped. We came out, the cabin half torn asunder, walls splintered as if something had ripped its way through. The graveyard was still there, but the headstones were different. Newer, like they'd appeared overnight. There was one with my name on it. Lucas Bennett, 2024. Sarah screamed, pointing at hers. Jake's and Mia's were there too. My legs were in jelly, but Mia grabbed the knife and the lighter. "We burned the bones," she said. "Now!" We dug up Rebecca's grave, the most recent one. Their bones were there, as in the cellar, clothed in that gray dress. Mia doused them in lighter fluid from Jake's backpack and set them on fire. The fire crackled, unnatural, blue flames licking at the air. The buzzing stopped, and the forest screamed, 100 voices splintering. The outlines appeared, circling us, closer than ever. I saw their faces: Rebecca, Elijah, Clara, all empty, all wrong. They reached out to us, cold blue hands, but the fire grew, and they vanished, dispersing like mist. We ran, not looking back. The trees creaked apart, a highway where there had been none. We ran out onto a highway, horns blowing as we crashed onto the pavement, gasping. A truck driver gave us a ride, took us to Marquette. We didn't talk after that much. You see, Jake went to Detroit. Mia quit nursing almost immediately, I heard. Sarah and I ended it. She couldn't look at me without seeing it. I went to check on the cabin later, read an old article from 1973 about a family of loggers who vanished in the Huron forest. No trace, no corpses. The residents said the land was haunted, cursed, and that it was linked to an ancient graveyard where settlers would bury their dead. And something else, something they wouldn't mention. Here's the shock. A month before, I got a package. No address. Inside was a photo, like the one from the cabin, but of us. Me, Sarah, Jake, Mia, standing in that clearing, smiling. I don't remember taking it, and on the back in shaky handwriting, "They're still here." If you ever happen to be near Marquette, don't enter the woods. Don't look for that cabin. And if you stumble upon a cemetery, run. Story number 2. 5 years ago in Vermont. My best friend Eric and I were on this stupid quest to go to some of America's most eerie places for our travel vlog. We'd heard rumors of a place called the Bennington Triangle. Most people haven't heard of it. Think of it as the East Coast version of the Bermuda Triangle, but with woods, mountains, and disappearances. 5 people vanished without a trace between the years 1945 and 1950 in the area. Locals don't like to talk about it. They just say the mountain doesn't like to be disturbed. We thought it was perfect for content. Creepy, mysterious, remote. The kind of place you could build a viral video around if you were lucky. Spoiler, we weren't lucky. We ascended into Glastonbury Mountain around noon. It was chillier than we'd expected and supernaturally quiet. No birds, no rustling leaves, only this continuous pressure, as if the air itself didn't want us there. We were perhaps 3 hours in when we stumbled upon the old foundation of what used to be a logging camp. Nothing but bits of rock overtaken by moss and time. Eric was in heaven, wouldn't stop making ghost and portal jokes. I laughed, but my skin wouldn't stop crawling. We set up camp off the trail near a spot called Hell Hollow Brook. Yeah, real welcoming name. By nightfall, it got brutally quiet. I mean, the kind of quiet that rings your ears. Then we started hearing it. At first, it was footsteps, slow, heavy, around the tent. Eric unzippered the flap and flashed his light, but nothing. We figured it was a deer, maybe a moose. But then, it laughed. I swear to God, it laughed. Not like a human. Not like anything I've ever heard. It was wet, high-pitched, like someone trying to imitate human laughter after hearing it only once and getting it horribly wrong. We did not sleep. By the morning, Eric was jittery. He said he'd had a dream about this tall figure in the woods watching us. Said it had no face, just this tight black skin where its eyes should be. I said to calm down. I didn't put stock in all of that. But then we discovered the footprints, right outside the tent, human-shaped, barefoot, but too long, like freakishly long, and deep, like whatever left them was impossibly heavy. We packed up, fast, but the way back didn't seem to exist. I'm not kidding. We tried our GPS. Nothing matched up. The trail markers we passed the day before, gone. We trekked in circles for hours, no signal, no sun. It was like the light just died in the trees. Late in the afternoon, we stumbled on something that wasn't on the map, a staircase, just standing there, in the middle of the woods, perfect. Granite steps that led up to nothing. No house, no ruins, just stairs. Eric was fascinated. "Dude," he said, "this is the kind of thing people never talk about until it's too late." He went up them, despite every instinct in my head telling me not to. At the top, he froze, like his body just locked up. He just stood there silent. I called out to him. He didn't move. Then he slowly turned his head and looked down at me, eyes wide, like he was staring at something behind me. Something I couldn't see. That's when he said it. "It's standing right behind you." I spun around so fast I nearly fell, but there was nothing. No figure, no shadow, just trees. When I turned, Eric had disappeared, just gone. There was no thud, no scream, nothing. The stairs were clear. I ran up. There was no sign of him. I called, shouted his name until my throat bled. Then I felt something breathing on the back of my neck. I ran. I don't know how I got away. I just ran. Through thistles, across the brook, past trees that all looked the same. My shirt was torn. I had scratches all up my arms. But then I saw headlights. I was found stumbling around near Route 9 by a search party. They never did find Eric. No body, no trail, no indication he had ever existed. I told the police the whole story. They didn't believe me. But an old forest ranger pulled me aside, told me this wasn't the first time a person disappeared up there, told me those stairs manifest sometimes, and that nobody who ascends them comes back the same, if they come back at all. I haven't done a video since, but I hear that laugh again sometimes at night. And sometimes I see stairs, even where they're not supposed to be, behind the supermarket, near my apartment, in my dreams. If you ever go for a hike and you find a staircase just standing there in the woods, don't climb it. Don't even get near. And if someone says it's behind you, don't turn around. You might not like what you'll see. If this story gave you chills or made you think of something you've heard, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe if you want more true horror stories. Just stay out of the Bennington Triangle. There are some places that don't want to be found, and some things that don't want to be forgotten.